Go. All right. Hi, this is the sixth monthly live show for people who are on my Patreon who pledge $5 or more per video. I could be for a month if you want. Yeah, so let's get started with the Q&A because we're on a schedule. Yep, that's you guys. We're on a schedule. Again, like last time. So for the first, what is it, like 30 minutes or so? Let me find that post somewhere. Somewhere it's a thing. There we go. Okay. So for the first 30 minutes, we're gonna do Q&A. So just start with your questions and I'll start answering them, and also on Twitter, if anyone has anything, that'll be good too. So let me just tweet that real quick. The show has begun. Send in your Q&A questions. Send in your questions. You want them answered in the live show. With the hashtag softly. Not at mention. Hashtag. Okay, right. So, does any of you have any questions that you wanted to ask me? Because we're going to do that for 30 minutes. So, do you have any Thanksgiving plans? Like, not really, because I don't really have a family. Like, I don't really talk to my family, so that's not really happening. And my boyfriend doesn't really spend a lot of time with his family either, so maybe we'll make something fancy, but we're going to be here, because that's kind of how it goes. So there's that and things. What's my favorite Pokemon? To fight with, in general, Golem is pretty chill. He's like the third stage of Geodude, and I usually use him because he's a really good tank. But when it comes to like which one I like looking at the best, I think Skitty is really adorable, and I like using Skitty for like the cute contests, and I think it's the third generation, which I know that the Omega Ruby and what's the other one? Some like Alpha Sapphire. I don't remember which one is which, if that's even the thing. I don't know. But haven't even finished third gen. I was like in the middle of playing it still because I never finished it, and I got as far as I did the first time I played, which is the farthest I've ever gotten. So that was a lot of information that you didn't actually ask for, but there you go. More questions and things. And stuff. This is the waiting. Favorite Christmas song. Carol of the Bells is my favorite Christmas song. More information you didn't ask for is last year, around this time, I was in a piano class with a decent teacher, and my final was to perform Carol of the Bells on the big, it's like a big grand piano basically, and it was really good, and I did really well, and I was happy about that. I did really well in that class with that teacher, because she made it really interesting, and because it's a beginning piano class, she would work with us individually and as a class, and actually give us help. But then my second semester I couldn't have her again because she doesn't teach second semester at that campus, and so I had this other teacher that had relatively good reviews on ratemyprofessor.com. But she didn't seem to remember what it's like to be a beginner because she's been playing for like 50 years now. And she'd even say like, oh, I don't remember what it's like to be a beginner, so it's your job as students to tell me what you want me to teach you. And then it's like, no. She pretty much just expected us to kind of just learn by the book through sheer determination. And it's like, if I wanted to just stare at a book until I understood, then I wouldn't have taken a class on it. But yeah. Carol of the Bells is my favorite. There's actually a particular version that I like. It's by this boys choir on YouTube. I think if you just type in Carol of the Bells boys choir, it should probably be one of the first results. It's really, really beautiful. Boys choirs can sing really well. Do you generally sing all the words right to most songs you like, or do you ad-lib if you forget? I mean, kind of both. Like, there could be songs that I know a lot, but there's one line that I can't quite make out, and I haven't felt, I just haven't looked it up on the internet yet what it actually is, and so I'll kind of just make like sounds that aren't actual words but kind of vaguely do it. But then if I'm singing it to someone and I don't want them to realize I don't know the words, I'll just kind of get quiet and then I'm like, as if I know what I'm doing. But yeah. Fun fact that you also didn't ask for is that if you're singing a song and you realize that you're not going to be able to hit the notes, you just kind of work the fact where you stop taking the song seriously and you make it obvious that you're singing it badly, because then if you own it, it's not embarrassing. It's also really good if you turn the volume really high so they can be your backup singers where they auto-tune you like that. um, when you started making ASMR videos, did you ever think you'd be as popular as you are now? No, like I always kind of wanted YouTube to be my job because I always thought that sounded really fun, and being my own boss sounded a lot better than working at Marshall's, which is what I was doing at the time. You know, spoiler alert, it's way fucking better. Oh, I just swore. That happened. I actually swore a lot in person. Um, no, but actually, what's interesting is my very first tweet was, I wonder if anyone will ever care what I have to say. So, again, spoiler alert. But yeah, no, I mean, I just thought it was fun. I was kind of depressed at the time, and I found ASMR videos, and I liked them so much I wanted to try myself. So I don't know. I don't know if anyone really plans on being popular, because I feel like the people who like actively try to be popular, you can kind of tell, and sometimes it works out, but sometimes it just kind of you just kind of feel like it's a little bit less genuine because you know that they're doing things specifically to be popular, like on a technical level. But yeah, things. Any more questions? There's a question on Twitter from Isaac who says, "Do you have or want any pets? If so, which?" Well, I technically have a cat that is at my parents' house, and which is in another state, um, and so it'd be really difficult to get her, and she's like 10 years old now, and she's used to like going in and out as she pleases, and there's like a desert that she can roam in. I'm a little bit sick, sorry. And I'm kind of worried that if she was in here, I'd have to keep her inside. But she's used to like running out the door whenever she wants. Um, so I'd just kind of be worried that because if she escapes here, she would just get hit by a car. Like in that neighborhood where she lives with my parents' house, um, it's kind of like a rural suburb, and so it's not like there's not a lot of cars going by. And so you know it's would be I wonder if it'd be good for her to move her here, or if because she's older maybe she doesn't need to go outside as much. But it's also a matter of going and getting them, and I don't think that I can do that right now. I just can't be there with around my parents at this point in my life. So things and stuff. I keep saying that. I bet it's getting annoying. Another thing from Twitter while you guys on the live show think of more questions. Where someone says, where does sad mango come from? It's something that I've said in a few of my videos. So, like maybe a year ago, I was living with this other roommate who was we got along a lot better. It's just eventually we triggered each other so much emotionally that it didn't work anymore. But we were really close for a while. And I was doing a vlog where I was sharing some things that I'd bought from the Asian import store. And one of those was a mango, which I hadn't had since I was like in Hawaii as a kid. Um, and I was trying to cut it, and I was doing it really badly. And so my roommate at the time was watching me, and I just this horrible like carcass death scene of this mango that I did so badly. She was like, "Sad mango," and then we kind of just said that in a few more videos, and yeah. Um, what's on your Christmas list this year? Um, I don't know. I mean, we recently got a tablet kind of on layaway from Amazon, so we're going to be paying that off in a few months. But other than that, I guess I kind of just want to travel, but that's not really something you can put on a list. I guess you can have a Groupon getaway thing, but I don't know. I I don't know. I mean, at this point in my life, I guess really the only thing is money because that can eventually lead to the things that I want. Um, I don't know. What do adults want for Christmas? Video games? I don't know. What's my favorite song at the moment? What's the song that's been stuck in my head for a million years right now? Oh, Marina and the Diamonds is my favorite artist right now. I've been listening to her just constantly. In particular, I like her song Homewrecker, Lies, and what was the other one that I always have stuck in my head? Prima Donna. I also like I Am Not a Robot from her album before, and Mowgli's Road is pretty good. Um, yeah, I've been listening to her a lot lately. Someone says, yes, we want video games. I'm sorry, hold on. I'm just sick right now. Do you like Christmas decorations at home? Do you decorate your home? I mean, I'm probably gonna get a Christmas tree, and we're gonna decorate the Christmas tree. And if we can afford it, we might get decorations for the rest of the house. I have this big red bow that I like to put on the front door on the outside when it's Christmas time. I also bought these bells for the door last year, but I realized it was a lot better to just keep on the door because then I can tell if a door was being closed inside or if someone was like leaving, like a roommate or someone, because then I could tell if they're coming home or leaving instead of just a door being closed. So I just kept it on there, and it's just left there. It's just over there. There you go. A big or a small tree. I mean, it kind of usually has to be a little smaller so I can afford it, but then, you know, it also has to fit inside the apartment complex, and it's not like we have like rich people high roofs and things. Why is it a thing where like rich houses have really tall ceilings? I guess it looks nice, but I imagine it's really cold. I've also been in houses like that where I was visiting a friend and they had a really tall ceiling, but then their heater, little vent thing, was at the top, and it's like heat rises, you're gonna be freezing, and they were always freezing because their heater was blowing hot air into the roof basically, and I don't understand how people thought that was a good idea. Um, how good is her first album compared to her new album compared to the first? Um, her first was the one with I'm Not a Robot, right? If not, then I'm sorry that I didn't know that. But I really like her, is it the Electra Heart album? I'm not really sure what it's called right now. Clearly, my brain is working today. Um, but I don't know, I kind of like both, but I listened to a lot more of her newest album. It's kind of like she's talking about all these different tropes that women are in the kind of the business, like show business. Um, and I find it kind of interesting. And then she also has some more personal songs, and I don't know, it's interesting as she explores different tropes, like with Bubblegum Bitch, Homewrecker, Prima Donna, Radioactive. I feel like Radioactive seems like kind of bipolar, and not that I'm like using that word. I mean, literally, it reminds me of like being bipolar. I was diagnosed with that when I was really young, but then as I got older, they're realizing that maybe it was just the BPD and everything. So yeah, it just sounds kind of like that to me because I'm really informed about it. Where would I like to travel? Hi, Stefan. Stefan just joined. Hello, welcome. We're still doing Q&A right now. Big or small tree? No, I already answered that one. Where would you like to travel? Kind of everywhere. I mean, different states in the U.S. would be cool. Different cities, but also like I want to go to Thailand and Japan and Korea and England and Scotland and Wales and kind of just everywhere. I mean, as long as I feel safe and vaccinated, I mean, I feel like that'd be interesting. I've been thinking a lot about wanting to go on a safari thing, not like people who are crazy and like get off the little jeep and walk up to lions because that is just not a good idea. That just sounds like a really bad idea. You're gonna do that? No, let's not. Let's not get eaten by lions. You're not gonna. You think? Okay, so we had this thing when we went camping recently that we were learning about bears in case we ran into one, and I was reading all the stuff, and it's like the page that I found was really awesome because it went from the top, the least, threatening thing where you kind of just see them from a distance and what you should do, all the way down to, okay, if it's actually eating you right now, then you can fight back. That's when it's a good idea. So that just went from 0 to 60 real fast. It was like, do you see the bear from far away? It's like, do you see the bear a little closer? It's like, is the bear kind of coming towards you? Is the bear sniffing you? Is it guarding a food source or its children? Then it's like, has it come closer? And at this point, it's like you go from like kind of ignoring it, trying to avoid the bear, all the way to if it gets getting closer, you try to yell and be like, get out of here, bear. And this is for black bears. You're like, and try and scare it away. And then at some point, if it's looking aggressive instead of curious and it's coming towards you, you still try to go rah, rah, but if it's coming towards you and it looks like it's going to make contact, it's like drop to the floor and pretend you're dead. That's when you want to be dead and not threatening. And then it says, stay that way and do not move until you know that the bear for sure is out of the area. And then it's like, but if it actually starts trying to eat you, that was the words that it used. They're like, then you should fight back for your. It says fight for your life. That was the suggestion that they've given you. Just fight for your life now that it's actually consuming you. That's a good time to fight back. I mean, no time like the present. You can just. I just found that hilarious. Scotland, yay come, yeah. I mean, it gets cold here, but it probably doesn't get Scotland cold. But as my friend from Norway says, she says that there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing. But I'm pretty sure that only applies to being cold, because when she was here, it was like 103 degrees, and she was like, how do you live? And I'm like, ha, found your bad weather. Owned. Lions are just big kitties, and bears are just big dogs. I find it really funny, like on Tumblr and things, when people will just say any four-legged animal, and they'll be like, what a weird dog. Or there's this blog called, like, it's like Worst Cats or something, horriblecats.tumblr.com, and it's all just baby hippos. And they're like, this is a horrible cat. Why is it all sticky with hay stuck to it? This is a bad cat. Wrong. And someone's like, someone just informed me that this horrible cat looks like a steak, and it was a hippo that looked like a steak. Yeah. Like, but both are more deadly to humans, it's true. What isn't? Check out Russia, they keep bears for pets. I feel like that's a bad idea. Like, do they still do the whole bear baiting thing, or it's just like entertainment to torture a bear, kind of similar to torturing bulls in a rodeo? Because that's just messed up. Let's not do that. But at the same time, I feel like I'd be terrified of Russia, especially right now, where they have the whole if you are gay or support any sort of LGBT thing, then you should get like killed or imprisoned. So I'm probably not going to support their economy by visiting there and encouraging that. Maybe if they, start caring about human rights, I might maybe visit them and things and stuff. Right. Any more questions and things? I have tea now. I probably tweeted it before, but I have this cup where when it's got hot stuff in it, the trees turn red, but normally they're black. And I thought that was cool. I actually bought it for someone else, and then they're like, no, don't be in my life. And I was like, sweet, now I have a really awesome teacup. So that was worth it. And it's like, I came out on top. Win-win. Right. And things. Ask more questions. I can't tell if anyone's typing. Can you imagine how like intrusive that would be if there was like the people who have like hundreds of people in their thing and it has just like the whole list is just people typing, which is probably why they don't tell you that people are typing. But yeah. Ask questions so people later think that it's interesting and want to come next time. Do you ever want to take a visit to Greenland, Alaska, South Pole? Oh yeah, definitely. I know that in Alaska, where they have the Northern Lights, they have these kind of like hotels where they're kind of like a clear, warm igloo room, fancy, where you're right under the Northern Lights and you can just like chill back on your bed and look at them through glass. So that sounded cool. Again, I'd probably need lots of good warm weather stuff so I don't die, but that sounds like a really amazing experience, and I'd really want to do that. So Greenland is the one that's icy because they just want people to go there and stay away from their actually luscious things. Can you juggle? From George. No, I can't. I could show you, but I would probably knock over my tea onto the tablet in my laptop, and that sounds like a bad idea. I would not suggest that. A large majority of alien abductions take place in Alaska. Really? What if they're just lost in the snow and they come back delusional from such trauma to the body? I don't know if I believe... No, okay, so I believe in aliens. Like, I think that it'd be rather arrogant to think that we're the only, like, intelligent life in the whole entire universe. It's like, there's, like, infinite possibilities in the universe, and you think, like, why? I don't understand it. And when you talk about aliens and people are like, they act like you're, like, completely out of your mind, and it's like, why? Like, depending on your thing, you could, alien abductions kind of thing. But, you can see those people where they're trying really hard. They're just like, aliens actually built all of the things. It's like, why would, like, what I noticed about the things, the whole, like, ancient aliens thing on that one channel, where they say, like, how could they have done this technology so well when they were just primitive people, but they'll ever do that for people of color, where they do these like amazing architecture and they do something really intelligently, and then they're like, there's no way they could have actually done that. They're not white. Like they don't say it right away, but they never say that about like things that white people did. They do it for kicks, right? What would they gain by abducting us, right? Like I would imagine if they can already come from wherever they are all the way to here, they probably have some decent technology. Maybe they actually live in a world where inventions are encouraged to actually be used. Like, side note, I'm gonna rant again, is that I really don't like capitalism. People who think that capitalism is the reason for that innovation happens, no, like there's so many things where people invent amazing things that could change the entire world and make everything more, environmentally friendly, or just save a lot of people, like with diseases and things. But then they don't do it because they don't make money. The reason why we haven't switched the entire world to clean energy is because oil companies make a lot more money with how they do things now. Where if you just had solar power that could power the entire world for basically free after you make the initial investment, that doesn't make the money. So it's like capitalism actively stunts development and intuition and innovation because they want what makes the money, not what's going to help the world. So it's like I'm pretty much a fan of not capitalism. That doesn't sound like something I like. Not to mention, like capitalism is also like almost directly responsible for a lot of sexism, where it's like the whole idea that women should feel bad about themselves and forced to being thin is so that they can sell things to you to make you feel beautiful and make you smaller by, you know what I mean? It's like if that wasn't thing, then we wouldn't have these problems. You'd have all these innovation for diseases would be helped, all of these, clean energy things would be helped, everything. Like also just like it does not encourage innovation. So that was a thing that happened just now. We have about 9 minutes left for the Q&A, and then we're gonna move on to the mini contest. To win these things. There's two other designs, but we haven't ordered them yet. But these are stickers. They say ear to ear, and that's fun. Someone saying we'd be like a reality TV show for aliens, a taboo pleasure. Pretty much, yeah. They're probably just like, wow, look at these people. I don't know how to live life. We're like rats to them. If they can travel through large space distances, we wouldn't be very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I guess, but at the same time, for example, we're interested in things that ants do, and like, we've done research on how they work and how bees work. So even though they might not be, doing things that we're doing, we still find them intriguing. Someone says, why do aliens always seem to think rectal probing would be the key to understanding us? Maybe that's how they say hello. I mean, I don't know their culture. Aliens could abduct us to assess how much of a threat we are, or Earth might have elements their world doesn't. Not the brain or something like that. Maybe that's where they keep their brains, or their equivalent in their anatomy of where their thoughts come from. Maybe that's what they think it's supposed to be. Also, what's really, really weird is that we'll create these whole entire alien worlds and these things that you literally can make them look anything. Like, make them look like something from the deep sea because those things are terrifying and alien looking. But we just make them look like humans with boobs and everything, but then make them green with, like, weird ears or something. It's like, wow, you could have done so much more with this, and you didn't. You didn't do that at all. The rear is an easy end to their means. Literally. But yeah, I just realized that I didn't actually think of any questions for the mini contest. I was gonna do that, and then I didn't. So I'm gonna be thinking about those in the next 7 minutes. I'm so sorry. I've been sick, and I was sick, and then last night it was like 12:30, and I was like, 3 hours into playing Sims 3, and then Chris was like, isn't your live show tomorrow? And I'm like, I should probably go to sleep and actually do something about that, because I've been sick, and so my brain's been completely out of it. You'll notice that I keep rambling and forgetting things. I'm sorry. So I'll just try and think of that real quick. I'm really behind this time. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna think some stuff. No need for sorry. What can we win today? Yeah, it's more stickers. I have the other designs too, but right now we just have these ones ordered, but we'll order them as fast as possible. That you say ear to ear, and if you look close enough in the background, you see those little lines are like different things, like scratching, brushing, things like that. So that's pretty cool, and that's a thing that is happening. The other designs, I have those as well. Um. Mhm. 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 Such preparation. A brand new car. It's like I'll send you a Hot Wheels, like a dollar store Hot Wheels car. It's brand new. No one else has ever opened it. Maybe because a lot of people open things in dollar stores and then kind of throw them back. So, yeah. Let's see. They still sell Hot Wheels. Well, not like Hot Wheels brand, but like generic cars, I think. So, yeah. Um, you know what's unfortunate is the person who won the free link to the show, the person who's not a patron, isn't here. So, it sucks to be them. Um, yeah, I'm just looking through things. Oh, that is interesting. Sorry, I'm looking through my videos, trying to be inspired for a question. I feel really embarrassed about that now because I should have done this prior, so I'm not like wasting anyone's time. But mm-hmm, mm-hmm, uh, you can feel free to ask questions while I'm doing this, so that you can keep the talking going while I'm trying to do this. We get to watch your cogs turn. This is quite fun. First round, what is Becca humming? Nothing, just words, just words. Um, all right. Here's a good question. Okay, so you're gonna have some time. Actually, we have until 12:30. But I have a question. So, yeah, don't be embarrassed. It's fine. Yeah. Okay, so I have one going. Um, okay, I have one question. Okay, so I have what I'm gonna ask. So all of you prepare and things. All right. So we have time for like a couple more questions. I'm sorry I keep making like weird nose sounds. I'm just like sick and I'm trying to breathe right now. Delicious. I'm sorry, I'm sick right now. I hope that anyone watching the recording of this doesn't think that I'm really uncool. But, if you thought I was cool in the first place, you probably need to like recheck your requirements for such things. Everyone but me is sick in my house. Well, it's like pretty much when I get sick, it's mostly like I feel kind of tired. I might get a little warm. My nose will be stuffed up, and I might have some throat things. But I don't like get super sick and I'm like passed out and dead and like needs, extra everything and medicine and doctors and I don't know, like any sort of like severe thing. I don't like get, you know, stomach problems or anything. And I seem to get sick about once a year. I have two other videos where I got sick and I was like a sick whisper ramble. And last one was in January and before that I think it was like the November of the year before that. Then Chris will have to nurse you. Yeah. It's also a pretty American thing to be like, oh, I don't need doctors and things because we have like very difficult healthcare. I actually have free healthcare right now because of how much I make and so I qualify. Um, but every time I have something wrong, I'm trying to like find a clinic because you have to choose a clinic of the available for that kind of insurance. But when I called different people once because I was freaking out about something, like there was some sort of weird thing happening on my legs, and I was like, whoa! I'm like, clearly it's tumors, clearly it's cancer because everything is. And like, I have a new mole, cancer. Um, but I call them, and it just rings forever, forever and ever and ever. It's always cancer. But yeah, I actually had this friend. Let's just ramble a bit more because we're doing well today. As I actually had this friend in high school, and there was a weird thing that started happening where she started to hear a lot less well in one of her ears. Like it eventually got really bad where you could talk to her in that ear and she wouldn't hear you, and you tap on and be like, hey, hey, hello, and she'd be like, oh. and she couldn't hear anything out of that ear. And I remember somebody kind of joking and be like, oh my god, I hope it's not a tumor, because when something weird happens like that, we're like, oh. But it actually turned out to be a tumor, and eventually half of her face was paralyzed, and she dropped out of school to go into like chemo and things. So that made that person really embarrassed that they had said that, because it ended up being true. Right, it's 12:30. Let's move on to happier topics, like winning stickers, like these ones. Aren't they fancy? And things. That's one reason I'm happy to live in Germany, is a very good health system. Right. So the question I have is this, and I'll be very, very clear and enunciating and everything, is once I read a short story that I had written myself in a video. What was the name of that story? Now everybody skedaddle off to my videos page so you can figure it out. Do, 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 do. No, I'm doing Jeopardy. Not everything is Sims. Yep, it's called Love. But George, you won last time. You don't get a win twice in a row. So it's gonna be James. There you go. But yeah, it was called Love. So yeah, George, you don't get to win stickers every time. You don't get to collect them all, okay? Someone's like, he's too good at this. You've been disqualified. But yeah. Yeah, so James, you win the thing. I'll show you the other designs right now besides the one that I have right now. Is this already, like, is it already on here right now? I'm going to unlock this thing so I can show you. Right, so here's the other one you can choose from. It's kind of grungy looking. And then we have, obviously this one is the one we already have. And then this one, where it's a brain, and it says Softly Galoshes. So, can you make sure to message my Tumblr? Yeah, welcome to the sticker club. Make sure that you message me your address on my Tumblr and your name and everything, so that I can get that done to you, and make sure that you can contact me. And can you also, do you have a Tumblr account? Is that a thing that you have? Yeah, because if you don't have one, it'll automatically make you anonymous, but then I can't reply to you privately. But yeah, so if you send me your name and address, I can send that to you as soon as possible. And also let me know which sticker design you want. I'll send you the images for all of that, and I'll get it to you as soon as humanly possible. Right, so that happened. Cool, and thanks. I'm glad that you're excited. Don't be too overwhelmed. It's gonna be okay. It's okay. Shh. Yeah, okay. So we've kind of already been chatting instead of doing a very strict Q&A. But yeah, if you have more questions, you can ask those. We have about half an hour left because it didn't actually take that long for you to figure out the trivia. So yeah. Yeah, any questions? Or I can just start rambling about things. That's kind of what I've already been doing. Because my brain is kind of all over the place today. You can make one. Cool. Right, I already read that. Okay. Yep. So I've been reading this book. Do you guys want to see the book that I've been reading? But first I'll answer George's question. What was your favorite subject at school and why? I was really good at Spanish. Spanish class was my favorite. I liked learning about it, and I liked, yeah, I liked learning about it, and I was really, really good at it, especially when I got into my second semester of my second year, because I purposely transferred to the best teacher in the school, because I kept getting like the ones who didn't actually even, like, there was this one teacher I had where she couldn't even speak Spanish. Like, her credentials were she had a teaching degree and she had visited Peru once, and it's like she didn't know anything. She literally didn't know anything, and she pronounced everything with like this really, really white person accent, and it was really horrible, and I almost lost passion for it, but then I was like, no, I'm going to get a good teacher. So I did, and I was really behind because of those bad teachers, and then I got really good. And my third year of Spanish was my senior year, and I actually was, there were people who had like the fifth year, which means that they started in 8th grade, and the credit counted so they can go all the way up to 5th level. She said that I was actually better than those, and I actually won an award for it, even though I was only in the third year. But yeah, I'm reading this book as we transition into this. It's called Servants of the Storm. and it's by Delilah S. Dawson. And it's really cool. Basically, what happens is it takes place in Savannah, Georgia, and a huge hurricane, Hurricane Josephine, goes through and destroys everything. And then the main character has been on these pills that have made her completely numb and fuzzy. She like barely remembers anything since the storm when her best friend died in the storm. That apparently she was having these psychotic breaks, and so they put her on these pills. But the pills are kind of funny because they don't come in a regular bottle. They're like this brown bottle, and they're not really labeled. And her mom keeps making her take them, and so she decides to quit them because one day she sees her best friend at their favorite restaurant, even though she's supposed to be dead. And so she's like, I need to get off the pills because she's like, if I'm on these pills, which she was told were antipsychotic medication, um, but because she's seeing things while on the medication, she's like, something isn't right, so she quits them and she starts to realize that those pills were really messy and they made her immune to everything, and she starts to notice weird things around the city, and eventually she realizes that something really weird happened with the hurricane, something possibly supernatural, and so thus the story begins. And it's really interesting, and I'm like this far into it, and it's really good. It's really fantastic. So yeah, that is a thing that happened. Anyone have any more questions? Because that would be fantastic if you have any questions. Oh, by the way, I know that I've been really absent from social media in general, and I haven't made a video in over a week now. But hi, Sean. You showed up at the end part where we just chat. And oh well, lost my train of thought. I'm sorry, I have sick brain. I haven't made a video in a while, and that's because I've been sick, and I've also been going through a lot of kind of like emotional things, and so I've been trying to kind of get through that, and so it's been needing to take a break from things. I've also been playing just a heck load of Sims 3, just like all the time. Like I'll go do things, I'll go to school, or we'll go out to eat, and then I'll be like, let's go home. And he's like, Sims? I'm like, Sims. And for the for the um for the first time, I wasn't actually just like playing Sims to like kind of just make them happy and get them all the way through their jobs and everything, because eventually I'd get bored of that. Is we've specifically made characters that were horrible so that we could ruin their lives, and they were like really, really unhappy. And we added this cigarette mod so that they were constantly needing a cigarette, and that was making their mood drop into like super red, which is bad, and just ruining their lives. And we gave them these tiny little apartments. They had these big lots that we put them in a rich neighborhood, but they're like the houses are tiny, and their toilet is right next to their counter where they make food, and they just have a bed in the middle. And I had the other guy who's also horrible living right next door to her, and I made them fall in love. Damn it, I made them fall in love so they could be unhappy. And then I made her have a kid, and then they had to like fit. We had to like I just put junk out in the yard. Like her whole yard is full of like dead cars and weird furniture, and there was like 17 dumpsters and like a watchtower and weird signs and things. I just filled up her entire yard with junk, and we specifically designed everything. Like we changed the style of like, hi Michael, you showed up. We still have like 22 minutes left, so hi. Michael's the one who won the free link to the show, even though he's not a Patreon, so kudos to you. um but yeah, so anyway, with Sims is we designed everything specifically to make everything look rusty and disgusting, and so that's fun. And we were ruining their lives, and they were so unhappy because they were always tired. But the baby was so zen. Like the baby would just chill. Like the baby didn't even like would sleep all the way through the night. I feel like I don't know if it's just because Sims 3 made babies way easier, because in Sims 2, babies were like crazy difficult to take care of because they'd only sleep for a couple hours, and you'd have to wake them up in the middle of the night, and the Sims are all exhausted and they need to feed all the time and they're crying all the time. So I don't know if it's Sims 3 or this baby was just super zen because hold on, someone is making noise and I have to mute you. I'm sorry. Here, bye-bye. Okay. um but okay, right, but this baby would just chill in its crib, just like its hands folded like this, and it would just stare at the ceiling, where it's like just pondering the universe, and it would sleep all the way through the night and didn't need to be bothered that much. And I'm just like, no, ruin their lives, be difficult. Yeah, this is what my mic looks like. This is what I make videos with. It's on a tripod right now. So it's like I could get really quiet and be like, right side, left side. This is yep. This is what it looks like. It kind of looks like a Dalek a little bit. Love the Sims. Their language gets annoying. Barsipanoopdol. Rehen no good. It's like one of the other ones that I know. Ripped on newbie. I keep what's the other one I know? It's just like Barsipanoopdol. One of my favorite parts of The Sims. Yeah. What I like is when they had actual like artists, like musical artists, record their songs in Simlish so they could put it on the radio. Yeah, the Sim songs. It's good. Um, I don't think the Hangouts are binaural, unfortunately. Yeah, it's possible. I don't know. I'm not on the other end of things. I'm over here in my house. That was hilarious. Yeah, I liked it. Um, yeah, so that I've just been playing loads of Sims 3, but now I'm playing this other family that I created. Um, it's hanging out a super smooth and high res compared to the first one. The first one, I mentioned before that I lowered the quality of the mic because the bandwidth was really, really low, and so I was trying to make it not lag as much. So this one's just like the default high res thing. This is just my webcam. It's so yeah. Thanks, webcam. You're chill. Um, mhm. Have you guys looked at Sims 4? 'Cause Sims 4 looks really cool, but it's like $70. Like that is ridiculous for a Sims game. It's like relax, dude. But it looks really cool. I don't know if you guys have seen any videos for it, but like the make a face thing is a lot better where instead of like going through all these like little, option sliders, you can literally just grab their face and move them however you want to move them. So, and they actually have emotions, like they have moodlets still, but they actually have emotions that then affect how they do things. Like if they're angry, they can exercise harder, but they'll also be really hard to like help people. It's click and pull like with Spore. I never played Spore, but I know what it is. So that's great. Sims 4 doesn't feel like it's worth it until there's expansions. That's true. It's kind of frustrating how every time they come out with a new Sims, even though the same expansions existed in the ones before, um, they make you buy them again, like the whole, Sims 3 seasons, Sims 3's pets, and it's like, okay, we've done this already. Can you, like, maybe just put those in the game that you should just have pets instead of waiting for them to exist? Like, I don't know. I feel like that's how the release Sims do with everything for free. Were the were the were the expansions free? Was that just because it's been out for a while? Is it all free now? Was it free? It wasn't free in the beginning. You had to buy them in the beginning. Yeah, actually have all the expansions for Sims 2 and all the expansions for Sims 3. Um, but yeah, I mean that's a little frustrating. Like they'll add also like they give you such like in Sims 3, and for example, when you just have the base game, there was like 7 hairstyles and they were all horrible. Then as you added expansions, you'd get more hair and more clothes, which is cool because it makes them worth it. But it's just like it's like okay, but again, like the pets and the seasons and everything, it's like it's really great. I'm glad that they added that and like, but they had that in the first one. Like they had Sims 1 pets. Did you really need Sims 2 pets and Sims 3 pets? Like just make pets part of the default game. Like do something more creative. If you're gonna release an expansion, um, it's like if you're gonna make an expansion, make it worth it. Don't make it things that should have been default in all the other ones anyway. You shouldn't have to buy another expansion just to get things that should be part of the basic game by now. Um, so I don't know what that's about. Yeah, now they have all these things whenever you're on Sims 3 and like you're trying to find something for them to wear or furniture. Um, yeah, right. The fact that you can't even just have pools in, now they have to make that part of the expansion. I don't know. Maybe it's because a lot of people end up torrenting them, but that they make them more expensive, like how Photoshop is fucking ridiculously expensive, and so most people just torrent it, but maybe then they raise the price so when they do actually have someone buy it, it makes up for it. But at the same time, most people torrent those programs because they're a completely outrageous price, like they literally can't afford it, but they need it, you know what I mean? So, um, make it better for, yeah, it would make for a better game, but not so good for business. But at the same time, if they made them more affordable, then more people would buy them, and you'd think that would make up for the fact that they, when it's like more expensive, more people are just going to pirate it at that point. Not to mention the kind of point that I think it was Neil Gaiman made, where he used to be really against people, getting things for free off the internet like that. And he was talking about how he used to be really against it, but then he realized that the people who were, torrenting his books and everything were in countries where they didn't have it in that language and they weren't available in that country, and so people would translate his books and then torrent them. And he eventually decided to do kind of a social experiment where one of his books that had been out for like a really long time, like 5 years or something, he released it for free on the internet for like a month or a year or something. And he realized though that he didn't like that actually the profits for that book went up because he realized that anyone who really is going to buy the book is still going to buy the book. You know what I mean? If they can afford it and they want to, they're going to buy the book. But anyone who's not going to pay for it, either because they can't or whatever, he doesn't lose any money because those people wouldn't even buy it in the first place, either because they're just getting it to see if they would even like it, but then they end up not liking it anyway or it wasn't worth it to them, or they really can't afford it. If they couldn't afford it in the first place, that's not money that you lost. That's money that you never were going to get in the first place anyway because they couldn't afford it. And so that's what he found out about it, and that's what other people have realized too, where it's just like, if someone was going to pay for it, then they're going to pay for it even if you can get it for free. But if they weren't going to pay for it, either because they can't afford it or because it's not something that they really would have tried otherwise. Like when people will do ROMs for games and everything, like for Game Boy games, it's like they wouldn't have actually bought it because it wasn't interesting enough to actually pay $40 for, but they want to see if it's good. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what it is that you're not actually losing any money. It's like potential money, but yeah, like what he said is that when he had his book released for a year for free on the internet, sales for the book went up. He made more money by having it for free because more people were exposed to it, and so more people wanted to buy the actual copy because they realized that they liked it when they would not have been able to make that decision otherwise. But yeah, someone's saying, Angus is saying, Electronic Arts are a terrible company, they're extortionate. I mean, yeah, you can kind of tell because they'll make, again, the whole expansion thing. They'll just make expansions for things that should be part of the base game. But yeah, Paul just joined. Hello, Paul. We have about 13 minutes left in this. We're just kind of chatting right now. We're talking about Sims and pirating things and the morals and money involved with such things. So it's not like EA needs the extra cash. Exactly. Like, again, I feel like they would sell more if they made more original expansions and sold them for a more reasonable price. Because you know that even though people do torrent it, if they could afford the money for all the expansions, then they would. But like they should make the expansions worth it, not like having things that just, again, should be part of the base game. You shouldn't have to pay extra money for, like pools. Why would they take away pools? You could do pools in Sims 1, the base game of Sims 1. It's just kind of ridiculous. I mean, I really love playing Sims, and it's really great. You know what I also wish was happening in Sims, now that I'm on this point again, is that I really wish they would add kind of darker elements. Like, I mean, this sounds horrible, but I kind of want my Sims to ruin their lives sometimes. I want them to be addicted to heroin, and I want there to be able to, like, assassinate people. Because I want it to, I mean, it's fun as it is, but I kind of want it to get darker and more realistic. And maybe people say I should just play a different game, but I don't know. I feel like that would make it a lot more interesting if that was the thing. I don't know. I think that would be interesting. Kind of like how I have the cigarette mod for it, just to kind of make things difficult for them. But yeah. And things and stuff. Sims 4, blackjack and hookers. Right? Like, I don't know. Things. I keep saying that. Put things like drug suspension in sports games, right? You're like, your sim has been offered steroids. Like, will you accept this challenge? I like how that one person is, I can see their webcam, they're just laughing their ass off. Who is that? Who is that? Who's laughing? Nick is laughing. I can see you. Yeah, I don't know. I think that it would be more interesting. Also, I want there to be teen pregnancy because I feel like that should be a thing. I'm pretty sure there's a mod. There was a mod for Sims 2 that could do that. But also, what's interesting is there was another mod that every single time they would do the woohoo, it was it was always possible that they could get a baby, and they added like birth control and things. So it's like there was always that chance, especially if they weren't taking their thing to deal with that. And I thought that was a lot more better, because that was a little more realistic instead of being like, you only get a baby if you're trying. But I don't know. I want that to be a problem. You're like, are you bad enough, dude, to get your toddler addicted to crack? I don't think that children should be on crack. No, I don't think that should be. You're like, drugs and teen pregnancy. This is an awesome Sims game. I think so. I mean, that sounds kind of ridiculous. I mean, it's not like I encourage those things in real life, but it happens in the world, and we should have this as part of the realism of the game, I think. I don't know, after a while I'm just like, I want them to be messed up. Get more depressed. There should be mental illness too. As somebody who like deals with mental illness like my entire life, I feel like they should add that, but in a respectful way. Kind of like steroids in Sims. Yeah. It'd be too real. I know some people play Sims because they want to escape reality and they want to live in this kind of like, purified world. They use Sims to teach kids about life. They're like, don't do drugs, or like, like if Sims are on meth, it would slowly erode their face, like in real life. I just bumped the mic. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, obviously it would be a thing you'd want to separate kids from, but at the very least I think people should make mods for it. And every time I look up, I'm just like, Sims 3 heroin mod, and there's other people asking for it, so it's not just me. There's lots of people asking for it, but nobody's, made it. It's kind of probably difficult to do. It's probably not an easy task to add all of that. But that's a thing. This has turned into a very interesting live show. Very interesting indeed. Sims Breaking Bad expansion. Where it's like, he's like, you have negative $300 in your account, and now you have cancer. It's like, will you sell meth? Will you accept this challenge? That's pretty much a good representation of our healthcare system, that in order to pay for the bills of someone having cancer, he decides to sell meth. That's such an American thing right there. That's where they had to go to get that done. You can see now that as my tea's getting colder, it's turning black again. They're like, I'll be sure to take these ideas to work for a future game. Right? It's delicious. It almost fell out of my mouth. So what kind of tea are you drinking? I think it's just pepper. Is it peppermint? Peppermint. It's peppermint with honey. They're like, Walt also could have gotten it from the guy who screwed him out of the business thing. He was too proud for that. I actually don't know that much about Breaking Bad. I think I saw the first episode, but I mean, maybe it's just a little heavy for me. Maybe I'll eventually watch it, but I don't know. Chris is saying that I'm missing out on these things. You know what I do watch, or one of my favorite shows, it's already done now, but it's United States of Terra. It's about a mother who struggles with DID, which is basically like when people have multiple personalities. The thing about that, fun fact, it is a real thing, but it's not really called multiple personality disorder anymore, because it's not a personality disorder, it's a dissociative disorder. And dissociation is basically like everyone experiences some form of dissociation. Like when you're watching a TV and you no longer just see the TV, you're like in the movie. You know what I mean? Like you're completely immersed in the experience. Or like when you're driving, you'll kind of like zone out for a little bit. You're driving on autopilot, and then you kind of come back and you're like, whoa, how did I get home already? And so it's kind of like that for, on a regular spectrum. So you have this over here, and then there's something in the middle, like when people kind of detach emotionally, where they kind of, like a depersonalization, where they kind of feel like kind of separated from life, like they feel like they're not quite there, all the way to where DID is where you dissociate so far into your head that something else has to come forward to take care of things. And every single alter, which are the different personalities, have a reason to be there. And this isn't just like in the show, this is an actual thing that people have, this is the actual reasons for it. And so every alter has a thing. Like some of them will be the ones that are like the antagonist, where they'll confront people that are upsetting you, that have triggered you so much, or people who, there's usually kind of like an organizer who takes care of everything, where they'll take care of making sure your bills get paid, and they'll go to school for you and things like that. But usually it is triggered by some sort of trauma very, very early, because usually if the trauma happens later, then people usually develop some sort of like, instability mentally. But DID usually occurs from very, very young, where something very traumatic happens, some form of abuse, that it is so traumatizing that the child completely blacks out of the whole experience. And they eventually develop something else has to come forward to make up for the fact that they're not present in their head anymore. They just kind of disappear for a while and then they come back. And usually some symptoms where people don't even realize that they have it. And sometimes even the alters don't even realize that they're alters. They'll just walk around like a person, just living their life, and they'll have memories, and they'll just walk around. They don't even know that they're an alter. And usually people start to realize when they have blackouts, where they'll kind of come to again, and they don't realize what they've been doing for the last days, hours, months, years even. And in their place, also you'll have this thing where people come up to you and call you by a different name, and they know you, but you don't know who they are. You'll see like clothes that you've bought that you don't remember buying, or you'll see people have accused you of doing and saying things that you haven't done. And so that can be really terrifying. So I don't know. These are the things that I'm like really knowledgeable about. I'm really knowledgeable about mental health and everything, and how things work, and how people can learn to cope and everything. That's just something that I'm good at. For some reason, when I first saw Chris's Twitter, I figured it was a name, but I separated Krister Eyes. Yeah, his name is Krister, but I call him Chris. It's kind of a mixture of his first and last name, basically. Angus is asking if I still watch House MD. I mean, I watched it for a while. It's not that I stopped watching, like I officially was like, screw this show. It's just I kind of go through things in phases. For a while, I would just watch House MD every day. Did you know that House is actually supposed to be based on Sherlock, and that his friend, what's his friend called? Wilson. He's supposed to be Watson, basically. And we have 4 minutes left. And things. This has been a very interesting. I've given you lots of interesting information. I hope that you found it that way. 4 minutes left, so if anyone has any questions, or I can just keep rambling. Yeah. Sorry if this one was a little bit more disorganized. What happened earlier on that I missed? Well, first we started with the Q&A, and I talked about... I don't even remember what I talked about now. Pokemon for a little bit. Talked about pets. Petting lions, going, where I want to travel. Bears, lions, and aliens. Thank you. Aliens. Giraffe sex. That happened before the show, technically. So, we can't tell you, not allowed. But yeah, those are things that I've talked about today. That happened. Oh, we also talked about, I don't know, you're probably already here for this part, but we talked about putting heroin in Sims, because that sounds fun. I'm actually taking an intro to addiction class in college. I'm learning all about how different drugs work and why they're bad for you and what they do. And she doesn't teach it in a way where she's just like, drugs are bad. She's just like, talks about how they work. And the basic thing is there's this thing called non-specific effects, which basically means your genetics, your personality, that a drug can have specific effects that it's supposed to do, but when it mixes with you, that's going to change how it happens. So when you hear people who, like, for example, will do a certain drug and it'll go just completely not how it should have gone, people are just like, oh, that person just got messed up on that when they were supposed to be fine, like someone who can get paranoid delusions on marijuana, for example. It's because of the non-specific effects of that person that change that. How some people can drink lots of alcohol and some people will throw up after even a little bit. It's all things. Fun fact about alcohol is your body actually treats it as a poison, which means immediately when you put it in your body, it has to go through 3 stages of breaking down the chemicals so that it no longer poisons you. And all of those stages are still toxic until it gets to the end, and then your liver has to do kind of the rest of it. Which is kind of bad when you mix alcohol and other drugs, because your body is so focused on trying to break down the alcohol poison that it can't focus on filtering out the other drugs, and so it can mess it up. Also, did you know that Vicodin is in the same family as heroin? It's an opioid. So that's fun. Yeah. So Lilma says, this has been fun. See, you can pitch Drug Life to EA in the future. Yeah, it'll be the non-specific effects of that thing, of that sim. So that's really, like when people, for example, they'll try LSD and then they'll just completely never break out of their head, like they're completely like comatose basically in their head. Heroin is a brand name, I think. No, heroin is actually, it's what it's called. I mean, it's not really a street name anymore. or anything like that. It's just kind of what the drug is called. Did you know it was actually originally released as a children's cough syrup? Or cough syrup in general. What's funny is during a certain time in life, think about the time of pharmaceutical history when everything was like in the brown little vintage bottles, is that people would have all these miracle cures, for everything. They're like, oh, this will cure everything. It'll cure your sex life and your love life, and you'll be smarter and stronger. And all of those things were actually just like cannabis, alcohol, heroin, cocaine, and I don't know if I already said alcohol, but that too. Just in a bottle, and they're like, it'll make you feel good. And you're like, all right, I'm sure it'll do something. That's pretty much what most of them were, which is interesting. Also, fun fact about why marijuana is called marijuana, it's actually not the name for it. Cannabis is the actual name for it, but they were trying to make marijuana look bad, mostly because there was Hispanic ranchers who'd been taken into the country to work, and they tended to smoke that and to use that drug, and to make them kind of look horrible and to kind of distance themselves, they called it marijuana to make it sound like something kind of foreign and dangerous and exotic. But yeah. Also, marijuana was what we learned about last class, and it's already 1 o'clock, but I'm going to finish this train of thought, is that it is psychologically addictive, but it's not physically addictive as the research shows so far. So, yeah. Right. Maybe it's called because they sold it as, hey, you're going to get like Superman if you're going to eat it, there's a hero. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's another thing that's been called, where they called it heroin because it made you feel great. Like you could conquer the world. And it's a depressant. What's interesting is that if you are going to do heroin, and someone passes out, and they're like, oh, I'll put them in the back room and fine. No, they're going to die, because the main reason why heroin... I'm just going to stop the broadcast right now, and everyone, you can come to the live show next time, but then I'm going to keep talking about drugs after I hit the button.